Hello, my dear children. Myself Sujata. In the last class, we learned about Parliament, houses of Parliament, and about the political executive. In this session, we'll be learning about powers of the Prime Minister, the President, the presidential system, and about the judiciary. Okay, first let us talk about the powers of the Prime Minister. As he is the head of the government, the Prime Minister has wide ranging powers. He chairs cabinet meetings, he coordinates the work of different departments. His decisions are final in case disagreements arise between departments. He exercises general supervision of different ministries. All ministers work under his leadership. The Prime Minister distributes and redistributes work to the ministers. He also has the power to dismiss ministers. When the Prime Minister quits, the entire ministry quits. If the cabinet is the most powerful institution in India, within the cabinet, it is the Prime Minister who is the most powerful. Okay, now let us talk about the powers of the President. While the Prime Minister is the head of the government, the President is the head of the state. In our political system, the head of the state exercises only nominal powers. The President of India is like the Queen of Britain, whose functions are to a large extent ceremonial. The President supervises the overall functioning of all the political institutions in the country so that they operate in harmony to achieve the objectives of the state. The President is not elected directly by the people. The elected members of Parliament or MPs and the elected members of the legislative assemblies or MLAs elect her. A candidate standing for President's post has to get a majority of votes to win the election. This ensures that the President can be seen to represent the entire nation. All laws and major policy decisions of the government are issued in President's name. All major appointments are made in the name of the President. These include the appointment of the Chief Justice of India, the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts of the states, the governors of the states, the election commissioners, ambassadors to other countries, etc. All international treaties and agreements are made in the name of the President. The President is the supreme commander of the defense forces of India. President exercises all these powers only on the advice of the Council of Ministers. A bill passed by the Parliament becomes a law only after the President gives assent to it. There is one very important thing the President should do on her own, that is to appoint the Prime Minister. When a party or coalition of parties, coalition government means a government formed by an alliance of two or more political parties, usually when no single party enjoys majority support of the members in a legislature. So, when a party or coalition of parties secures a clear majority in the elections, the President has to appoint the leader of the majority party or the coalition that enjoys majority support in the Lok Sabha. When no party or coalition gets a majority in the Lok Sabha, the President exercises her discretion. The President appoints a leader who, in her opinion, can muster majority support in the Lok Sabha. In such a case, the President can ask the newly appointed Prime Minister to prove majority support in the Lok Sabha within a specified time. Okay, what do we mean by the presidential system. Presidents all over the world are not always nominal executives like the President of India. In many countries of the world, the President is both the head of the state and the head of the government. The President of the United States of America is the most well known example of this kind of president. The US President is directly elected by the people. He personally chooses and appoints all ministers. The law making is still done by the legislature called the Congress in the US, but the president can veto any law. Veto means it is the constitutional right to reject a proposal made by a lawmaking body. Most importantly, the president does not need the support of the majority of members in the Congress. Already mentioned, the legislature called as a Congress, and neither is he answerable to them. He has a fixed tenure of 4 years and completes it even if his party does not have a majority in the Congress. This model is followed in most of the countries of Latin America and many of the ex Soviet Union countries. Given the centrality of the president, this system of government is called the presidential form of government. In countries like ours that follow the British model, the parliament is supreme. Therefore, our system is called the parliamentary system of government. Okay, now let us try to understand about the judiciary. All the courts at different levels in a country put together are called the judiciary. The Indian judiciary consists of a Supreme Court for the entire nation, high courts in the states, district courts, and the courts at local level. India has an integrated judiciary. It means the Supreme Court controls the judicial administration in the country. Its decisions are binding on all other courts of the country. It can take up any dispute between citizens of the country, between citizens and government, between two or more state governments, and between governments at the union and state level. It is the highest court of appeal in civil and criminal cases. It can hear appeals against the decisions of the high courts. Independence of the judiciary means that it is not under the control of the legislature or the executive. The judges do not act on the direction of the government or according to the wishes of the party in power. That is why all modern democracies have courts that are independent of the legislature and the executive. India has achieved this. The judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts are appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister and in consultation with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. In practice, it now means that the senior judges of the Supreme Court select the new judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts. There is very little scope for interference by the political executive. The senior-most judge of the Supreme Court usually appointed the Chief Justice. Once a person is appointed as judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court, it is nearly impossible to remove him or her from that position. It is as difficult as removing the President of India. A judge can be removed only by an impeachment motion passed separately by 2/3 members of the two houses of the parliament. It has never happened in the history of Indian democracy. Impeachment means to charge a case against government official. So the judiciary in India is also one of the most powerful in the world. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have the power to interpret the constitution of the country. They can declare invalid any law of the legislature or the actions of the executive, whether at the union level or at the state level, if they find such a law or action is against the constitution. The powers and the independence of the Indian judiciary allow it to act as the guardian of the fundamental rights. Anyone can approach the courts if public interest is hurt by the actions of government. This is called public interest litigation. Okay, before concluding, let us go through the glossary. What do we mean by coalition government? A government formed by an alliance of two or more political parties, usually when no single party enjoys majority support of the members in a legislature. Executive is a body of persons having authority to initiate major policies. They make decisions and implement them on the basis of the constitution and laws of the country. Government is a set of institutions that have the power to make, implement, and interpret laws so as to ensure an orderly life. In its broad sense, government administers and supervises over citizens and resources of a country. What do we mean by judiciary? It is an institution empowered to administer justice and provide a mechanism for the resolution of legal disputes. All the courts in the country are collectively referred to as judiciary. Legislature, it is an assembly of people's representatives with the power to enact laws for a country. In addition to enacting laws, legislatures have authority to raise taxes and adopt the budget and other money bills. Office memorandum, it is a communication issued by an appropriate authority stating the policy or decision of the government. What is political institution? It is a set of procedures for regulating the conduct of government and political life in the country. The term reservations mean a policy that declares some positions in government employment and educational institutions reserved for people and communities who have been discriminated against, are disadvantaged and backward. So, what is a state? A political association occupying a definite territory, having an organized government, and possessing power to make domestic and foreign policies. Governments may change, but the state continues. In common speech, the terms country, nation, and state are used as synonyms. Okay, now try to do this activity. Eliama, Annakutti, and Mary Mole read the section on the president. Each of them had a question. Can you help them in answering these questions? The question asked by Eliama. Let us see that. What happens if the president and the prime minister disagree about some policy? Does the view of the prime minister always prevail? Give an answer based on what you have understood. Then the question asked by Annakutti, it is, I find it funny that the president is the supreme commander of armed forces. I doubt if the president can even lift a heavy gun. What is the point in making the president the commander? Okay, try to answer it. Now let us see what Mary Mole said. I would say, what is the point in having a president at all if all the real powers are with the prime minister? Okay, try to answer these questions. Okay, now let us recap what we have learned. So, we have talked about the powers of the Prime Minister, about the President, what is the presidential system, and about the judiciary. Okay, hope you have understood. Now, try to go through all the slides again and again and answer all the questions given at the end of the chapter. Meet you in the next session. Thank you.